Hi guys, welcome to the Coop and Duck podcast. It is approximately 24 hours since we drew with Sheffield United. I did a podcast yesterday. Duck couldn't come to the game because he's in Saudi Arabia on work. And I took a friend and we did do a podcast, but for some reason all the footage came out super flickery, so it was therefore unusable, which is unfortunate. And now I can't really be bothered to talk about the match. I'm kind of over it now. I'd say a couple of things. Both very good teams. Sheffield United a very good side, and we're a very good side, but for two completely different reasons. We're silky slick, play great passing football. We're more of a Premiership side, really, in the brand of football we play, and that's no criticism of Sheffield United, but they're a lot more direct. They overload the wings, play it wide. You know, they've got a lot of pace, and they've got a great target man in the middle in Billy Sharp, who's banging them in for them. The annoying thing about yesterday is that both our goals were great. In particular, the first one was extremely well-worked team goal. Brilliant. And the second goal was also pretty good. You know, scintillating football. And their goals, we kind of gifted them. One was an unnecessary penalty, which Emi Buendia naively gave away on the stroke of half-time. And the second was just a simple cross and then a header, you know. We don't close down the guy who crosses it quick enough. And then you could argue that Zimmerman loses Billy Sharp, who peels off him well. And then he has an easy tap-in with his head. But, you know, they had 3 shots on target and they scored 2 of them. The other one was a speculative shot from range. So from that point of view, it's a little bit disappointing. The other disappointing thing is, by the sort of 92nd, 93rd minute, you could tell that they were going to settle for the draw, and we were attacking, and we had the box loaded up with players, and I think it was Vrancic, Godfrey and Zimmerman who all had an opportunity to just smash it in the mixer, you know, just play a ball in and see what happened, and they all bottled it. No one did. They sort of passed it around each other, and then the whistle went. I think what we saw from Norwich yesterday was a combination of our ability to play great football and how good we look going forward. That combined with our clear naivety, which comes from having quite a young side, because we were naive at points. We were naive to give the penalty away. We were naive in the way we conceded. We were naive at the end. But as Ian Holloway said on the EFL highlight show on Quest, he said it was probably the best game of the Championship all season, and said how great Norwich were. And you got to say, we are a great side. It's just a shame we couldn't open a gap between us and Sheffield United. I had a little bit of an existential crisis after the game. I was sort of walking home feeling bitterly disappointed that we hadn't won the match. And then I started thinking to myself, well, why? It's only a game of football. It actually doesn't matter. And then I thought to myself, well, if football doesn't matter, then does anything really matter? And I felt like super depressed for a good hour, I guess. Just really got to me. I met up with a friend after the match who was visiting from Scandinavia, who I hadn't seen in 10 years. I sort of said this to him, and he said, no, there's a lot of meaning in football. And but by the way, he has no interest in football whatsoever. He said, it gives a lot of joy to a lot of people. And that made me feel better, I guess. But, you know, we've got Leeds next week. Incidentally, I think Leeds are less of a threat to us than Sheffield United, because Leeds are a bit more similar to Norwich in the way they play. They're not going to just hit it out on the wings and put crosses in. And actually, I think crosses and set pieces have proved to be our Achilles heel all season, our kryptonite. We haven't dealt well with corners, set pieces and crosses into the box. I think if people put it on the carpet and play it, we look a lot more comfortable, and I think Leeds will do that. So I'm less concerned about the Leeds game. Also, as a bit of a free hit, you've got to say Leeds are probably going to win the league. And for me, it's not about first and second, it's about the gap between second and third. We need to keep the gap between us and the rest of the pack as big as possible. And I mean teams like, well, in particular, Sheffield United and West Brom. West Brom didn't play yesterday. They were in the FA Cup. Couldn't have been a better result for us. They drew the match against Brighton, which means they've got to have a replay, which would have been the last thing they wanted. And to be honest, cup run's the last thing, surely, that they want. I mean, we had a good start to last season, and we went on that cup run where Arsenal knocked us out, and it was the worst thing that could have happened to us. Because our form completely went after that. I put that largely down to fatigue. You know, we had to play 30 minutes extra time at the Emirates, and then we had those 2 games, home games, in which we lost both. I think it was against Derby and Wolves, if I remember correctly, and we lost both games. So, yeah, it's all about the teams below us. I'm not even remotely concerned about Leeds. You know, someone's got to come first. I don't care if we win the league or not, as long as we get one of those 2 automatic places. I couldn't cope with the playoffs again. Playoffs nearly killed me the last time I were in them, and a long time ago now, but I remember going to Cardiff when we lost in the playoff final against Birmingham, and I think the next day I've never felt depression like it, if I'm honest. I never remember being as depressed as I was the day after that playoff final. So yeah, we've got to come first or second. Anyway, Coop and Duck, Coop. We'll be back to, normal service will be resumed from next week, and I'm going to do another version of the Daniel Farker rap with additional verses. I've just been waiting for the transfer window to close because I wouldn't want to have verses about anyone who's going to end up not being at the club, but I dare say there's not going to be any outgoings. I was slightly concerned Tim Closer was going to go, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, watch this space for the Farker rap. Over and out, guys.